Hello and welcome to the P.O.P podcast. I'm Jason Sirotin, joined by my co-host, Scott Haley. Scott, how's it going?
It's great, Jason. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm really excited about today's show because we have a friend of the show and someone who I've been fond of their business. They've partnered with my business, Brain Bites Creative, many times, and he has a great relationship from LeadSigma, Mr. Scott Hansen. How are you?
Doing great. It's a pleasure to be in your guys' company.
Well, we're really excited to have you because you've been doing some really cool stuff with AI. I'm really into AI. Scott is
AI
really
curious. I'm AI curious.
He's very AI
I
curious.
was AI scared. Like I got so I'm going to get a little vulnerable here. The first time I've heard about it, Scott Hansen was the first guy to show me what was possible with AI. Maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. And then at that point, I was like, nah, I think he's off his rocker, right? A little bit. And now here we are a year and a half later. And I'm like, he's onto something here. And I really think what your conversation around this is really could be super impactful for doctors and their practices. And this is where things are going. And I want everyone to hear it from two experts, which is you two, or two experts that I know, and regarding our industry. So I'm pumped for today's conversation.
Yeah, and just a little bit of background. So I have a platform called Simp Solutions. It's an AI platform. And Scott, we're going to get really deep into what he's built because he's solving problems for orthodontic practices specifically. And so let's jump right into that because I'm super curious. And Scott, your job will be to reel it in if it gets too nerdy.
Deal.
All right, here we go. So, Scott, tell us about LeadSigma just in general, and then let's talk about kind of the innovations that you guys have brought to the table over the past 2 years.
Yeah, sure thing. So just for some professional background, if you didn't listen to the last episode, so I started my career actually managing my family's orthodontic practice here in Kansas City. And we had basically where we started from, the practice had been around for more than 20 years. It was a great practice, very traditional, like single doctor, single location practice. And we basically, it had been flat for about 10 years, and we basically didn't do any sales and marketing. That was the first thing, like there was no process behind it. And so although we would like try to generate professional referrals and run ads and do other things, backing that system up, there was nothing. And so we didn't really know what was going on after, like we didn't track phone calls. We didn't track digital lead submissions. We had no data and we had no operational process to back up the effort we were spending trying to drive patients through the door. And so really the first thing that I did was start building those things. When we get a lead, what do we do with it? When we get a phone call, how often are we answering it? How often do they schedule? When they schedule, how often do they show up? How do we affect, basically mapping out that patient journey and figuring out how we could affect each phase of that patient journey and incrementally make it better. And we were about the 30th acquisition for Smile Doctors, the first practice in the Kansas City market. And right around the same time Smile Doctors acquired the practice, I'd started a virtual receptionist company. And we ended up serving around 1,500 orthodontic practices and a few thousand businesses and other verticals. But what I realized was the problem that I had helped solve for our practice, virtually no one else had a solution like what we had built. And we had just kind of Jimmy rigged the whole thing together. It worked for us, but it was not a scalable solution we could offer to other people. And so when I sold the receptionist business, it was like, okay, I think this is the next thing that I want to solve for the industry. And so we started by building a CRM or a follow-up engine that connected to all of those places so that we could track the data and action the new patient prospects that were coming in. And we built ways to track the digital leads and eventually the inbound calls. And as soon as we got connected to everything and we could see how that whole motion was working in practices, we realized that lots of the opportunity just gets missed at base level. So when a new patient calls the practice, about 30% of the time, they don't talk to anybody. they hit a voicemail. Most of the time they hang up and they bail and they don't do anything. And so probably similar to you, Jason, it was like, okay, the technology, the solution to these problems and the technology were really like, seemed like a place where they were converging. And with AI agents, we started building AI agents about 2 years ago. And it took us about a year before we were confident to actually start rolling this out for, live for practices. And we've had the first customer we ever started with Copilot still using it today. And that customer, their ROI on using that Copilot agent to answer their missed new patient calls is about 100x. We've booked about $1.4 million of brand new production for them through the AI agent. And so we can see now, looking back, that our hypothesis is turning out to be true, which we're really, really happy about.
That's so cool. I mean, it's a very similar story. It's almost like that's how the great things happen. Is you're trying to solve a problem for yourself and your business, and then you're playing with the tools, and you can make all these failures and spend that time in research and development, and then you have a tool that's ready, and you're like, okay, let's put this out. And that ROI, that's right on par. It should be up and to the right, and we should be able to decrease cost over time because the cost is getting cheaper and cheaper. Congrats. It sounds like what you've built is really, really cool. Can you talk about a little bit about how the system works? Like if I'm a new doc, because in my opinion, if you have a practice and you're not using this tool, you are flushing money down the toilet. Like you really need to look at these tools seriously because your competitor down the street will have them. It's just going to happen. So what is the process of evaluating bringing your tool into the fold, and what are some of the obstacles that could get in the way?
Yeah, those are really great questions. So one of the things that we've learned is how important the practice management software connection is. If we don't have one, we can still use an AI agent. It can still book an appointment, but it books an appointment on a different calendar, and it requires a workflow to actually like reconcile the calendars or get it into the practice management software. And so we've built native integrations with Cloud9, Greyfinch, Dolphin, and Ortho 2 is being finished up right now. And so with those practice management integrations, like one of the first steps is us getting hooked up to those databases. As soon as we have access to the calendar, we will, in essence, interview a customer in writing and over a call to figure out who they are, how they represent their practice and their brand to their patients, and how they do their scheduling workflows for new patients. Once we have that data, we build out a custom Copilot agent. And Copilot's just an internal, it's a brand that we chose before Microsoft Copilot became a thing. But we build an AI agent specifically for that practice. And that AI agent represents their brand in a unique way compared to another implementation for another client. As you can imagine, there's lots of different ways to answer the question, how much does Invisalign cost? How much does braces cost? There's some practices that we serve that take Medicaid patients and others that don't. How to handle transfer cases with new patients calling in. So there's all these things. And I think that one of the things that I want to highlight is how important it is to have some sort of orthodontic knowledge when you're building these agents, because many of those things I just talked about, someone building a generic AI agent, they could answer like, how much do braces cost is a fairly common one, but transfer patients and Medicaid, like to understand how to nuance that for a particular client is really important. And it helps them maintain their brand integrity. Because one of the big differences between using an AI agent versus using Google Ads, for instance, Google Ads they're static. Like we design the images, we design the copy, we know exactly what the prospective patients are going to see. With an AI agent, they're probabilistic. And not only are they probabilistic, but they impact the patient experience pretty significantly. And so we take the customization of those agents and how we represent our customers really seriously.
We always tell customers that The systems have to have inference to be able to be like you, to think like you, to respond like you, and to have the knowledge that you have on hand and the guardrails to protect it from going off. I'm sure that's a concern of people. How do you guys handle, setting up guardrails so that it doesn't say wild things or hallucinations?
Yeah, well, about a year and a half ago, once we got a AI agent that we were fairly proud of, the first QA testing that we did was I handed my cell phone to my 11 and 13-year-old nephews, and I said, please try to get this thing to say something that it shouldn't. And they were very entertaining conversations. But the goals and the guardrails, as you know, like that's how you design AI software. Whereas historically, software development has been deterministic. You do something, you get something else in return, and it's the same every single time. So the customization of the agents, there's a lot that we can do to customize those agents. There's also some standardization to those agents so that we do not increase the risk that we make everything custom for every client, because when you start tweaking the prompt and how it interacts with the model and what model you use, it introduces risk that it says something that it shouldn't. And so we've actually internally, to help solve that problem, we've internally built simulation testing. So we have built an internal tool that allows us to make minor or major edits to the prompt or like the instructions that we're giving the AI and run it through thousands of different iterations of conversations for it to tell us if the AI agent gets asked this question, what is the probability that it responds in an acceptable manner? And so all of that stuff we've kind of built over time as we've learned. And so very fortunate for the customers that trusted us early on to help us figure those things out.
Yeah, I always say today is the worst our product will ever be. Because every day is such an evolution on both sides, on our learnings from every single client and the advancements on the model side. So when you are pitching this to folks, how are you positioning to get them to give you that opportunity? Like, is it strictly ROI based? What obstacles are you hitting when you're trying to get this in front of people? Because it seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think the biggest obstacle that we run into are staff thinking that it's going to replace them. And I think that, we'd all be lying to ourselves if that hasn't crossed all of our minds, no matter what we do. It's like, okay, how is this going to affect my job in reality? The best analogy that I can think of is Microsoft Excel and accountants. Accountants used to do all of that work with pen and paper. And I could imagine that if you talk to an accountant who was doing it if all accountants were on pen and paper and you said, hey, we've got this magic tool that makes you 95% more efficient, they would poop their pants. However, we've seen the exact opposite. Accounting services are now more accessible. There's similar number of accountants, but the work product that they can provide is a lot more accurate. It's a lot quicker. And, in the end is a lot cheaper for customers to get the same kind of work. I think that same process is going to happen with agentic workflows for people who work in orthodontic practices. People still want a personal touch. Like they still want to talk to people. I don't think that's ever going to go away. However, we can use these workflows to make the work that we're doing more efficient and to help us refocus the time and effort we spend in office to be with patients engaged 100%.
And to help solve problems fast if someone needs them.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they might want to speak to a human, but they'll settle for a good, solid, trusted answer from a reliable source.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we've talked about all the AI and we keep saying human and how we put all this effort in. good AI, good companies that are putting the right foot forward are human-centric AI companies. These tools can't build themselves. You can't automate your full system to build what we're building. Like what you have, you can't just, it's not, yes, you can build parts of it and you can replicate that. But if you don't have a human who's like, okay, this is how the brand needs to act and feel, and this is that part that makes it human, it's dead. And then if you don't have somebody interacting with it and keeping it going and checking it and to make sure it's not the same. There's going to be a lot of imitators out there, and there are lots of call tracking companies, but they're garbage. They don't really care. They just, you're a number, and they throw. I've tried them. Like, they because I want to see what's out there, right? You're a number. So I want to encourage people to, go to leadsigma.com and give Scott and the team a chance to book a demo with them on the website. There's a green button. Just click that. And Scott, what was the demo consist of for you guys? What is the process? What somebody gets in?
Yeah. So on the demo call, we spend about half of the demo call really understanding what they do today. Because we're not just in the business of hustling these AI agents, to potential customers. We want it to be a genuine good fit. So the first half, they're about 30 minutes. The first half is really us understanding their business. And then the second half is kind of navigating how we could deliver products to them that would be value add or value additive. So we obviously we have the CRM or the follow-up engine. We have call tracking, a call tracking product that we've built, and then also the AI agents. And some customers, they have great solutions for some of those and not all of those. And some customers benefit from all of them. And I've had a couple of conversations with customers where I've just suggested that they don't use any of it. So we just try.
What's an example of why? Why? Yeah, I want to know why.
Yeah. So, one of the objections, I mentioned the objection of people think it's going to replace them. The other main objection that we get is people's concern over patient experience. They've had a lot of really poor interactions with phone trees and IVRs, and they just get ticked off whenever they call their bank and they get stuck in a phone system for 15 minutes before they talk to someone. And I can totally understand that. The patient experience we deliver is exceptional. And I think when potential customers cannot get over the fact that the alternative to using our product is a voicemail, when they cannot understand that, it's typically not a good fit, because there's going to be some things that how the AI interacts with their patients is not going to be exactly the way they would do it. And when I get the sense that the expectations are misaligned, that would be a case where I would just recommend that they don't do anything and wait, because there's a different level of tolerance for innovators and early adopters than if you want like something that's totally baked, that's never going to have any issues. Now is not the right time to buy it with any AI tool. Like, the technology is just so new. But for the people that can see the bigger picture and know that it's not going to go off the rails, but when it says something that you'd rather it say something different, let's just edit the prompt. Let's fix it and move on, and take advantage of the hundreds of thousands of dollars of wasted production that exists today with the missed calls.
Let's say I'm a practice. This is how I like to look at it. Let's say I'm a practice. How much would it cost to try this thing for 3 months, right? Like for a normal practice, because I think that's what all it takes. Give it 3 months and see what it does. And the return must start showing its colors pretty quickly.
It does. That's one of the nice things about the Copilot AI agent is it's very tangible. The calls get missed. Copilot picks up the call and it books the appointment, and you can like see the whole thing happen. And so it costs about $1,500 to use it for 3 months for most clients. And yeah, I mean, it's an absolute no brainer.
Well, that is priced appropriately. See, we are so aligned. You can't go out and charge people. There are people who are trying to charge $10,000 a month for this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we'll build you this thing, and they suck. And all it's going to do is make people mad. The smart way is this. It's what Scott is doing. It's what I'm doing. You price it so that once it's there, you never want to let it go, and you have a partner forever.
Yeah, and
there's two things.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
real quick here. There's two things before we get lost here, because Jason's at some point going to say we're out of time, and I'm going to not give him. But Jason, don't do it. So there's two things that Scott Hansen did here that I think I want to point out to people that are listening to this. Get to this. One, he just said something really important. He tells people sometimes when they're not a good fit. That's unique. That's a unicorn right there, right? He's assessing. He's trying to create win-wins for you and your business in a partnership with LeadSigma. That's not normal. I love that about you. Number two, we're in an industry where it matters that this guy comes from orthodontics. He's in the business of orthodontics. You just said it, Jason, right? Like, there's all this big world out there. Like, I'm a person that believes if you're going to have a CPA, you should probably have a dental CPA. If you're going to have someone that's doing AI with your practice, it's someone that's actually used in the business of orthodontics doing this, because I think it matters. That's it. I'm off my tangent. You got excited. Now I just got excited.
It's exciting stuff. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, no, I appreciate both comments. We're really fortunate to, so one of our earliest customers for our AI agent started with 3 locations, and now they have a mix. It's an enterprise, and they have a mix of different practice management softwares. We went from those first 3 locations to now we are on all of their Cloud9 practices. We're implementing for, Dolphin practices, for other, as soon as we have Ortho 2, we'll start implementing for their Ortho 2 practices. And so that's probably the most satisfying thing, is when you do find good partnerships, and when it's priced fairly. I mean, obviously, when we fast forward a year from now, it's likely not going to cost $500. It's likely going to cost more, because the workflows that we will be able to handle will be greater. But we want the price to reflect the value that we're creating for customers. And it's really fun to go back through and do the ROI analysis, because, all of this was hypothesis. We were trying to figure out if it could be a real thing. And, if I am a skeptic looking at this technology, I say, okay, that sounds really cool that your AI agent will answer the call and book an appointment. But wouldn't a lot of those people call back anyway? Even if they hit voicemail, would they call back anyway? Let's just say they did. They won't, but let's just say they did. At 100x ROI, 75-80% of those people could call back, and you still have a slam dunk of a service. And so that makes it really fun to sell and fun to serve customers in that way.
Right. So just to be clear here, if I pick a market in the United States and Scott, you and I have had this conversation. I call a bunch of practices at 10 o'clock tonight, and I try to book an appointment. What's going to happen in those practices? They're going to put me to voicemail, right?
For most of them, yeah. For our customers, the AI agent would pick up and actually book you for an appointment.
And I've removed that task from my list at 10 o'clock at night, sitting on my couch, right? Mm-hmm. So and that is super powerful.
100%. And this is not you. I think it's important to put ourselves in the shoes of the customer. So we're obviously not going to, being in ortho, we're not going to go and shop for orthodontists, but we do shop for landscaping. We do shop for plumbers, and all of us do that. And we can put ourselves in the mind of our customers if we just think about doing the same thing, getting an estimate for a landscaping project at our home. If it's not easy for us to do, we're going to move on. In some cases, we get one solid recommendation from one of our friends, and we're hell-bent on using that particular company, but that is a special case. The general case is we're Googling around trying to figure out who we're going to use and whoever makes it the easiest for us to use them is likely who we're going to end up with.
Have you ever thought of a WOW demo where you just give out a phone number so that everybody can call in and schedule, and then like they get an email and now they're on your email list as well? Because that would be a cool demo for non-believers.
That's a
And
great
you get
idea.
value out of it.
That's
Because
a great idea.
if you said right now, hey, dial one, and we can put it at the bottom of the screen one before the edit, dial this number, folks, and see for yourself. Go make an appointment. It'll send you your fake appointment to get your demo scheduled. Oh, there you go. Call in and get your demo scheduled.
I
So,
love that.
Scott, I am so happy for you, first of all,
Thank you.
and excited to know you and be a part of your journey. And Scott, thank you so much for making the interview happen. And we'll definitely have to get on again and go more deep in detail and as you release new things. And also, I think it'd be good to have a full podcast on AI fear and overcoming it, because it's either get on the boat or drown. It's not something that you can just skirt off. And I think that a lot of people are scared, and we might be able to make it easier for folks.
I think that sounds awesome. Another thing I'd love to explore with you guys is we are, for a few customers right now, starting to actually leverage all the data we're collecting. Being that we're connected with the practice management softwares now, we can backtrack all the way from the first click to the campaign that they clicked on or where the call was generated from, and actually finally answer the question, does my marketing work or doesn't it?
Wow.
What of my marketing is working and what is not, which is just hugely powerful. So would love to explore all of that data together.
Anytime you want to, we'd be happy to jump on the call. This is really interesting stuff, because this is what moves practices forward, and it's the future for everybody. I want to remind people to go to leadsigma.com, click on that book a demo button, or if we've got it, call that phone number, get it started, book with an AI agent today, or just click right here on book a demo. And you can get your journey started. For folks who are interested in learning about P.O.P and becoming part of the P.O.P world, Scott, you're going to tell them.
I'm honestly sitting here wondering if I should get an AI agent to have the conversations for P.O.P.
We'll build it for you.
No, no, I'm joking. I enjoy them too much. So yeah, click schedule a call. You can reach out to me. We spend about 20, 30 minutes. I love learning about your practice, sharing all the cool things we're doing at P.O.P. Same as what Scott just said. My goal is to not sign as many people up for P.O.P as I can. My goal is to actually have you come into the group and find a great fit for you. And hopefully you find a tribe of people or orthodontists just like yourselves, private practice orthodontists, that you'll never want to leave, because we've created a pretty cool group of doctors. And that's what we're doing. And we got great vendor partners too, like LeadSigma.
Yeah, I would love to give a particular shout out to P.O.P. So obviously I'm an independent vendor, but we went to the P.O.P annual meeting this last year near Salt Lake City, and it was an incredible group of doctors. The brain power in those rooms was off the charts, and P.O.P is an invaluable resource, not just for getting deals on stuff like LeadSigma, but also like the brain power of that group of doctors is a really powerful, or leveraged well, could be a really powerful growth accelerator for a practice. So
Thanks for saying.
I was just really impressed by the meeting and all the P.O.P doctors that I talked to.
And you nailed it, Scott, because it's great to save people a nickel on a box of gloves, but that's not the power of this group. It's the partnerships amongst each other, the vendor partners like Brain Bites Creative and LeadSigma and all the others. That's the secret sauce. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, it's a great organization. And once again, go to pop-ortho.com and get that scheduled. And finally, last but not least, go to brainbitescreative.com and schedule a meeting with Caroline. She's lovely. She's going to help you figure out how your practice can be better and reach more folks. And we partner with LeadSigma. So it's a great marriage, and we're really thankful to everyone who reaches out. So you can email Caroline at brainbitescreative.com or just click on the contact us button. I'd like to thank everybody on the show today. Thank you, Scott and Scott. We really appreciate you. Thank you for everybody on the Pop Ortho podcast team. We will see you all next time.
P.O.P. podcast. Let's go. The P.O.P. podcast. Let's go.